Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox, and this is
TJ Morris, Bear of Squid and Bear.
so.
Yeah, we're on Patreon, YouTube, all the things.
We'll put links down below when I get to a site. You know, I can actually bring this camera in closer.
Amazing.
Move the dog bed. Supposed to be 3 things on this porch.
You're pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we were having this conversation, and I said, man, we should have filmed that. And then you said something about cameras and tripods.
If only we had iPhones and tripods
laying about. And so we're not going to recreate the whole conversation because I don't think we have to. We were talking about, and if you had a different view on it,
Yeah,
take it
absolutely.
where you want to take it. But we were talking about, go figure, the importance of tight-knit groups. And I was mildly complaining, whining a little bit about people who lose focus and they want to be part of this national organization and go to national events and go sit in the conference room and listen to people speak at them, and it's passive and receive. But the important thing is to be part of a small group, where like you and I today spent this morning splitting wood.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you get sweaty, you get dirty, you get tired, and you work together. And by doing that, I think it scares some people. Because, you know, I can present myself on this video as Pastor Joe Fox, the invincible. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then, well, if I got to work with this young guy right here and go split wood and carry wood, he's going to figure out, dude, I'm stronger than that guy. I can go longer than that guy. I can carry more than that guy. That makes me look weak. Oh my God, I'm afraid to be with other people. They'll really see me how I am. You got to get over that, because we all have strengths and weaknesses. And what do you think?
So I think one of the things that came out of the conversation we were having earlier was the concept that the tribe is not digital. So you talk about the meat world all the time, this
right.
MEAT, the meat world. And it's good to have the organizational capabilities of a regional network, a national network, or whatever. But the purpose of that should be to form physical relationships with people, to get up in each other's business, get in each other's lives, build context. And then the key, I think, that you landed on with that was, okay, maybe I'm physically stronger than you. There's lots of things you're better at than I am. So then when you get to actually building a team, building a group, we're not posturing on the internet now. I know
Right,
what
it's real.
I know what your capabilities
Right.
are. You know what my capabilities are, and we can make honest, wise, informed decisions about the best way to utilize people. It's not just a bunch of BS on the internet anymore. It's real capability.
And you were talking about synergy.
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 You have to say it like synergy.
Synergy.
Synergy. And then do this with your hand.
My hands don't do that. I'm a Green
Synergy.
Beret.
Synergy.
But seriously, you know, everybody has value, and good leaders can find the best in their people and then apply that to the group so that the group is stronger. And the whole thing is, you know, I beat this horse to death. You can't do it on your own. You can't pull security on your own. You can't, well, it's the example I used recently. You can't be attending your wife in labor who's having a home birth and pull security at the same time. You
Right.
need peeps, right?
Right. And you need to realistically know what your peeps can do.
Right. And the only way you can do that is by investing in them. Time.
Time.
And you make yourself a little vulnerable. And so the whole purpose of these meetups is to meet people that you can form a group with. You're not going to form a group with everybody at the meetup, but you should be able to find a couple people that you then can say, hey, why don't you come over to my house and we'll grill some meat, right? And we'll do something. And then maybe that starts working out. And maybe in that meetup, a few groups form. The purpose of the national network is so that once you have a group, not an individual, but a group, the group now can connect with other groups to the betterment of the whole, I think.
Moving on from there, or building on that, we were sitting here talking about, okay, as a group, now, what are the things that we can be working on? We'd like to work on this, we'd like to work on this, we'd like to work on this. You can't even get past phase one without having that group, building that context. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people think, oh man, SHTF, and everybody's just gonna flex into this role.
And we're gonna operate.
We're all gonna operate operationally like operators. That's not gonna happen. It's not gonna be ULAO, the official organization of operators operating operationally like an operator.
Okay.
Is ULAO. Yeah.
ULAO.
Yeah, it's an acronym. So that's not gonna just happen. And so, yeah, you got to build your team. Then once your team is built, you can actually identify where, as a group, where your weaknesses are, and then work on that. Because I think the idea that everybody is really striving for is longevity in an uncertain world, right?
Yep.
Once the balloon goes up, I don't want to just die.
Right.
I don't want to be miserable. I want to have people that I can share my burdens with. We can build context with, have community with, God forbid, right? That's what we're going for, but it amazes me how a lot of people only think to the next step of, well, I'll just be in this national group. Nothing against the national group.
We want a national organization.
We want a national organization, but it's a framework, as you're saying, to build these smaller, more tight-knit groups that have actual capability and actual context. So, and then once you get that, you can identify, hey, you know what? We're really good at making camp and prepping food, but we suck at security. What are we going to do about that?
But those guys have 3 former Green Berets in it who can teach us security, and they need to learn canning.
Amen.
Boom.
Right.
Yep.
I had a guy ask me, hey, what is your suggestion on comms? I said, find a comms guy.
Right. Talk to Roger.
Exactly. Ozark Geek on YouTube. Talk to Roger or Gordy at the APN, because my recommendation on comms is have a comms guy, because
Right,
I'm not the comms guy.
That's my life.
You know?
Yep.
So, but you can't get to that point behind your keyboard or behind your iPhone. You're going to have to literally get sweaty and dirty and meet people.
And, you know, it's not convenient either.
No.
You know, as this world becomes more digital and people withdraw and, you know, no one's getting any exercise because they never go outside and everyone's just on the internet, and they start perceiving the internet as real and the people you talk to on the internet as real, it's like somebody says, hey, do you want to get together and do a barbecue? That would mean I'd have to leave my comfortable chair, and I'd have to get in my car and drive to your house because that's where you're having it. That's on Saturday. That's when I meet with my gaming crew to do this thing.
Susie's got baseball or whatever.
Or that's another thing. I can't. My kids have soccer practice. Where's the priority?
Right.
Right. I mean, you're trying to forge something, a lifeboat, to get through the chaos that's coming, and you're gonna have to invest time in that. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's a little bearing of yourself, but man, the benefits of that are so great when you can call on. We say brothers, you know, you use whatever term you want, but when you can call on your peeps, whether that's just, hey, I need somebody to talk to, or hey, we need to move this heavy shed from one side of my backyard to the other.
Done.
And you know what? With 10 guys, we could all just grab a piece of it and move.
Yep.
Or it's me trying to figure out how to use rollers and levers and jacks.
Being an Egyptian.
It's like, come on, you know? And that's just day-to-day stuff.
Right.
When the event happens, that's the other thing. Good groups aren't created overnight. Special forces teams aren't created like that and then go do great things. They all, first of all, have a lot of experience. Even if the brand new guy, he's been in school for over a year.
Right.
And he's already an NCO or an officer of some merit before that. So they've got all this experience. They have to work together as a team for a while before that team kludges and can actually do things well together. And if they're starting with all that background and goodness and training, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, how long do you think it's going to take you to kludge with your team when Bob's an insurance salesman and, you know, you're whatever you do?
I breed thoroughbreds.
Do you?
That's what I do.
Thoroughbred blacks.
Thoroughbred ponies.
Oh. My pony? My little pony?
My little pony. Yes, that's what I do. It's a useful asset. It's a skill for when the world ends.
Let's segue. Because that's a good one. Actually, my wife and I were having a conversation while we were driving. it wasn't that long ago in society in general. I mean, World War II, I think the Germans invaded Poland on horses.
Yep.
World War II,
Uh-huh.
cannons and machine guns and dive bombers. And it wasn't that long ago that horses was the mode of transportation daily for people in this country. And any little podunk town, which we won't mention like this one, had what was it called, sweetie? A livery stable. It's like a garage for your horse.
Yep.
When you pull into town and Aunt Mabel has a little house on 4th Street, well, you don't put your horse there.
Yeah.
Where do I park my horse? At the livery stable where the livery boy worked, and you give him a quarter and say, wash him down, brush him down and feed him some hay, I'll be back. And there were people who made the gear, the saddles and the reins. I'm not a horseman, can you tell?
The tack.
The tack.
Yep.
Somewhere in the region, definitely there were people who did that. And right now, there's still horses everywhere out in the country, but at the level that they're going to be, if there's an EMP or a war or the gasoline quits going to the people, horses are going to be valuable. I mean, we had an opportunity at one time here on Shofar Mountain to get like 4 to 6 horses for free. We almost took them up on it. But horses are expensive. They're like a boat. A boat is a hole in the water into which one pours money.
You know what BOAT stands for?
What?
Bust out another 1,000.
Right. Bust out another. So, but if all of a sudden we could mount every adult and teenager of the Shofarians on a horse, whoo! Talk about mobility and they knew what they were doing.
Right. That's a whole nother story.
I can tack a horse up. I can get on it and ride it. I can detack it and brush it down.
Yep.
I'm okay at the hoofs.
Yep.
Not great.
Yep.
That's it. My wife, though, she's a horsewoman. She understands this. But just something to put in the back of your head. If you have horses, horses could become very valuable
I think
quickly.
that would be a real commodity and would serve a purpose because there's patrolling, right? There's conveyance of goods, materials, people.
Like a wagon, right?
A wagon train, whatever, right? So there's trade in there, which would make sense to have a strong group that knows other strong groups so y'all can trade back and forth because I planted 10 acres of potatoes and you planted 10 acres of corn and I'm tired of eating potatoes.
Right.
Or you're really good at hunting and whatever, right? So you have that. You have the ability, did I say patrolling?
You did.
Patrolling, conveying goods, right?
Messengers,
that's what I was looking for. So I definitely think it opens up some options to you.
When I was in the Balkans, it was a fairly modern set of countries that were war-torn. And at times, gasoline was hard for the common man to get there. And I saw a lot of converted vehicle bodies.
Yep.
Like here, they'll take the back of a pickup truck, but they took cars and cut the tops off of them, and they hooked them up to horses.
Yep.
And there was like some dude on a half of a Volkswagen Beetle looking thing, dragging it down the street on his horse, and that's how he got back and forth and brought his stuff to wherever he wanted to take it, whether that was grandma or a pile of laundry or something.
Right. Firewood.
Yep.
Skidding logs with horses. I know. I actually have a guy in my group that can skid logs with horses.
We bought early on, my wife and I. My wife bought a Morgan, which is a light draft horse, so they can pull stuff. And it was our intent then to just homestead as a couple here. And she thought it would be good for skidding logs, right? Because they can do that. And so to that end, she started working on her horse, and we got to the point where you get them to pull the Jeep. She had like a full-size lifted Jeep,
wow.
And she hooked up the tack, the harnesses and stuff to the Jeep, and I would sit in the Jeep and just steer it,
right.
And she would be like, come on, and we would be going down the road, like these gravel roads,
right.
Pulling this Jeep. It was kind of cool.
Working the horse out?
Working the horse, training it, trying to train it how to pull. Because we started out, somebody said do something light, like a sled or something.
Right.
So we used a blue toboggan, and it scared the horse. And that horse is jumping and running, thought this thing was chasing it.
Oh.
And it could get away from it,
right.
So it created chaos.
Right.
So what you do is you hook it up to a Jeep, and if it goes crazy, you just put on the brake.
Right. Stop.
Right? Stop means stop. So, all right, so that's enough for now. Any words of wisdom for the people before we sign off?
You know what comes to mind is really be as honest as you can in everything that you do, and check your ego at the door when you're dealing with other people, because that's sooner or later. Let's say there's nothing. Everything done in secret comes to light.
Yep.
Right. So that's going to happen with your building groups too. So eventually, as you're posturing on the internet, meeting people,
Right.
none of that matters, man. I don't care how many, your $2,800 AR does not impress me.
What impresses me is effects on target.
Exactly. So, and if you're not there, cool, we can get you there.
Yep.
If you come out from behind your keyboard and
Yep.
we actually work together.
Yep.
So.
Boy, that's another whole video we need to do on gear. But
Oh yeah.
not this video.
Not this one.
All right, this is TJ Bear from Squid and Bear Patreon and YouTube channel. If you haven't been there, you should. And I'm me, and we will see you out there.